The biggest impact of getting Copilot is to increase the productivity and the creativity of their employees.
Sales can use it to create emails, marketing can use it for content, and operational we can use to deliver even better customer service for our clients.
It went from probably about 2 to 3 hours to create a brief to down to an hour.
We can use the prompts to ask what are the action items and who is responsible for those, then proceed with the next steps.
It has increased motivation, it has increased engagement and joy of work. It has enabled us to make better decisions and definitely enabled us to have competitive advantage.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brenna Robinson. I have the privilege of being the general manager of our small and medium business at Microsoft. One of my favorite things about this, I've been in this role for almost 3 years, is that I've not always been a big business person. In fact, the last 10 years, I've been working at startups or growth companies where now I get to sell the products back to what I would have wanted over the rest of my career. So it's been a really awesome experience so far. I'm going to talk about AI and the advantages it has specifically for SMBs. I think there's a huge opportunity. We kind of relate it back to e-commerce. Those original companies, those small ones that got online first, they owned the market and everyone was behind them. AI, very much the same thing today, which is why we're so excited to make sure that SMBs take advantage of AI now as quickly as possible. But I do want to take a moment to recognize an incredible milestone for us. I know you've seen this all around the conference, 50 years of Microsoft serving customers like you, which has been such an awesome experience. One of my favorite facts, and I actually posted this on LinkedIn, is that 50 years ago, Microsoft was a small business. It was a couple of guys in a garage making software, right? And that's such an example of how from small to big and how serving small businesses is amazing opportunity that we have today. It's been 2 years since we launched Copilot, although for any partners in the room or SMBs, you'll know it's actually a year ago in January, and I was part of that launch, sitting on the calls, making sure everything shipped right to allow it for this audience in particular. It's been an amazing journey and kind of crazy to think it was a year ago in January that this became broadly available and the huge impact that it's had so far. So businesses just like yours, and ICG's in the room today, which I was so excited to see. There we go. Awesome story. I'm talking about you first. I also work in construction tech, so I feel the passion for that. Small construction company, real estate investment, been able to produce proposals faster to win more jobs, right? They started as a big company, they're a small company that pulled off, and now they look so much bigger than they are with the help of AI and Copilot. Kind of shows you when you go all in, the big impact that you can see. Mike Mork's law firm is another example. They use Copilot to work with clients, but also give them better service. We think about quicker with AI, but we're hearing from our customers better as well, better experiences for their customers. And Newman's Own, personal favorite, you've probably seen them in some salad dressing aisles in your local stores. Also quite a small company, under 50 people. And nearly every single person in there, no matter what their role, uses Copilot. It's a great example of what a full rollout can be like, where the CEO said everyone's job is to learn AI. And it's allowed marketing, for example, to launch programs twice as fast. They don't have agencies. They don't have extra people. We've got one woman show running social, and she does it now with Copilot. It makes her job 5 times as fast, she says. And this year in our WTI Work Trend Index, I hope you're familiar, I'm sure you are, we did some specific insights looking into SMBs and how they felt about AI and what was the right time. Last year, which was super interesting, it was very much the watch and wait, or I'm thinking about doing something, kind of a learn more phase. This year, tables totally turned. Now is the time to rethink strategy and operations entirely based on AI. So if you have customers or you're a customer yourself, you might feel like that moment from, what is AI going to do to now's the time. And so over this next year, we expect to see implementation for the majority of customers and SMBs totally rethinking their strategy and their operations. We also introduced a new idea this year in Work Trend Index called the Frontier Firm. I actually know we have some frontier firms here sitting with us today. It's kind of an honorary title. You have to opt into it. Originally, they started as a lot of small businesses. We were noticing these startups. They were like 1 people, 2 people, 3 people, but they had this outsized impact because they had founded everything they did on AI. They didn't start business and say, can we do AI? Everything from hiring to operations was all built on AI. We noticed these really small companies were able to have huge revenue, so much more than you'd be able to protect. This is something that we've been watching over the last year or two. And now we're calling them the Frontier Firm. What's even more interesting to me is now you don't have to be born there, like born in the land of AI. You can immigrate to the land of AI and become native, right? You don't have to have started there. But we're seeing such a stark difference between companies that build it into every single thing they do, where they're making $100 million with 5 people, right? No problem, to those that are kind of dripping and dropping it, but really sticking to their own processes. So it's a big idea that we're kind of encouraging all of our customers of all sizes to aspire to be kind of native AI first. And what are these types of companies thinking about in their next frontier? Talking a lot about agents. They're talking about how you can buy intelligence on tap. So what does that mean? Instead of having to hire a data processor, an analyst, there's agents now that can do those tools, those things nearly as good as full-time employees. Instead of having an org chart, and we're doing this here at Microsoft too, by the way, where you've got every single FTE a human face, there'll be some people that just manage teams of agents, which is absolutely wild, right? Where the org chart doesn't just include living people anymore, but it includes agents that do that same work. And then every employee will become an agent boss. And this is something they need to learn how to do, right? Like all technology, like the e-commerce wave. How do you start managing this new technology where you're not managing people, but you're managing the work of agents? And this is kind of our forward-looking view that I bet when I'm back here next year, we will have examples of plenty of companies doing just this. And there's a reason why for the need of agents. Human labor is reaching its limits. 80% of employees and leaders globally say they don't have enough time or energy to do the work. And over half of our SMBs we talk to say productivity must rise. Well, what do, right? We can't make more people. We can't make them work twice as hard. So how do you meet this gap of work that needs to be done with the need for more productivity? And that's where we're seeing agents starting to fill these gaps, particularly for small businesses. And this is something I am so passionate about, is that I think this is where SMBs can and should lead the day. Like I said, N of 1 here. I ran marketing for startups when it was me and a couple of people, and now I work at one of the biggest companies in the world. I could move a whole lot faster at a small business, right? And every dollar made more. When I was trying to write every blog, every website, every social post myself, this would have changed literally my life, right? And so I think this is one of these opportunities where it's not about keeping up, it's about jumping ahead, where these small frontier firms we're seeing are competing with companies 10, 20x their size. And by looking at the revenue and the company, you'd have no idea how few humans it takes to run that. So I think this is a huge chance that I'm super excited about. And we believe that's why we have Copilot, right? This is the uniquely positioned product that helps that transition. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about what's inside of that. So if you've been following Microsoft for a while, and I'm sure you have because you're at the M365 conference, we talk about 2 big ideas. A Copilot for every employee, working for me, right? Helping me be more productive, move faster, respond to more emails, talk to more customers. And then an agent for every business process. That's that agent piece that we've been talking about earlier, right? Managing agents, growing agents, that is a critical part of expanding the workforce of all companies. Here's an example of a customer who's found it help with their personal productivity for every person. They're saving 10 to 20% of their time with Copilot. And I have 100 stories like this. I'd say 25, 30% of their time. And my favorite part, if you read this quote, is it's also allowing them to work on bigger, more important work. Like I said, no one ever started a company because they just love email, right? Or they love responding to requests. They do it because they have passions about what they're doing. And yet that day-to-day kind of drudgery of work takes all of our time, so much meeting notes. I started my career in, a PR agency. We had people whose whole job was to take notes. I'm so excited to think of a generation of workers where no one ever had to take notes. I mean, that sounds like a small idea, but it's kind of a big idea, right? Like that very grunty work that we put on early in career people, they may never have to do it. And so I think that's such a huge change in the way that we operate. It's not just faster, but it's better work. And then the employees, once they get it, they say, never take this away, because my life's better. And happy employees, better business, right? We all know that. We are always launching new features. I had to trim this section down because we did this big new feature section. But trust me, I sit in calls every week where we're hearing from our customers what's working, what's not, what are our competitors doing. So here are just some of our personal favorite examples of some of the newest features that I think are really great fit for SMB. So create stunning content. I am a marketer, so I'm a little bit biased here, but I'm sure you all need to make content. So picture not having to learn design tools. You can simply use what we're calling this create module based on your brand guidelines. You can make your brand guidelines. Here's my colors, here's my logos, and then ask it to make things. One-pagers, blog posts, images, and that just happens so incredibly quickly. And this is really important. Again, that's that work that takes a lot of time. What I also love is you don't need as many specialists, right? How many of you had contractors or consultants that you're paying a couple $100 an hour to do your design work for you? Picture that just anyone on your team can do that, right? That's an incredible time and cost saver. We all have a hard time finding stuff. And so what we're continuing to do is make our search function better. With Copilot Search, we're hearing from our customers, like this e-commerce trading manager here, that he just asked the question, what promos did we run in April? And it pulled it all together. So we all know search, right? That doesn't seem exciting, but across all the files you have, all the emails you have, all the Teams meetings you have, the notes from all of those calls, right? You're not going place to place to place to find those answers. And another new feature coming soon is Copilot Notebooks. So this is where we're a place to store all your information, sort of like a OneNote on steroids. To capture this based on AI and include all of your multiple projects, running ideas, again, all grounded in AI that we'll think incredibly valuable for our small and medium business customers. Enhancing your personal productivity. So we talked about a couple of features, my personal favorites, but there's so many more. If you have Copilot and you're not using this, please try them out. Prioritize my inbox. This is huge. What it does is it helps determine what are the most important emails you get, and you can correct it. It says, I determined it because of this reason, and it can help evaluate that. We've got more personalization, better meetings. Translating meeting recaps is a great one. If you've ever seen Translator in action, you can actually have someone translate someone's into a different language using their real voice on a call for any of the multinational companies here. And then increased limits for more storage, more access, and continuing our work in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So I think now I'm going to invite my friend Gabe on stage, who's going to show us this in action really quickly.
Thanks, Brenna.
Thanks.
That was great. Awesome. I'm going to stay seated because it's easier to work here. And if I have a panic attack as the internet dies or something happens, it won't be as obvious. But I have been at Microsoft working on Copilot over the last 2 years. And a big part of my job is working with customers to help them drive adoption and learn about how to use Copilot. And with that has been this amazing opportunity to learn about how different small and medium-sized businesses across different industries work, how you operate, the differences in the nuances in how you set up your business and your infrastructure and your tools just from the circumstances of how you've explored and found growth. We can never really truly bet on a single specific thing achieving that growth, but we adjust and we grow and we capitalize on situations. And I've been able to show people how to use Copilot in different ways around personal productivity. And so wanted to show you guys some of my favorites and some of the easiest ways that you can adopt Copilot. Just making sure I am on screen. Great. So this is Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. And it is your free, secure AI chat experience that is included with Microsoft 365 commercial licenses. So all of you should already have access to this. And if you aren't using it, I would highly recommend you use it. And we can take a look at how it goes. So being an AI chat experience is going to be able to find me things. A big part of marketing your business products and services is, of course, with social media. So I'm going to ask Copilot here to tell me what are the latest viral trends on social media and what are some ideas that for content that I should consider. And it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It's given me, it's went out there, it scraped the web, and it's found a few different types of videos and concepts that I can use. Fantastic. Nothing super new here. But this is where being a secure AI experience is going to change a lot of things for you. When you're using publicly available tools or free tools, you cannot necessarily guarantee that your data is not going to be leaked out or that the model isn't used, your prompts aren't used to train the models. And that's where we can commit to that with Copilot Chat. And so I'm going to try this again, but in this case, I'm also going to add my own file on home security products. And this file contains information about my products, my marketing plans, things that I want kept private because this is obviously how I hope to grow my business. And because it's a secure AI chat experience, I can confidently do this without having the risk of my information and my company's information being leaked outside. And so when we think about how we want to start using Copilot, how we want to adopt becoming a frontier firm or just starting out somewhere, using a secure AI chat experience that keeps your account safe, compliant, and private is going to be that first step that I'd like to tell everyone to just start with. Awesome. Now, Brenna talked about creating images, and I wanted to showcase Create really quickly because I think it is incredible and super powerful. So here I am in the Microsoft 365 Copilot app, and I have clicked on the Create module, and I'm going to try and design a poster. So first thing you'll notice is that if you hover over any of these incredible images that are already here, you'll see that the prompt that was used to create an image like this is already pre-populated there for you. And if you were to click on the image that you want to generate, it actually sets it up in the prompt box and allows you to just complete it with your specific requirements so that you can get a poster that is in this similar style, but with your specific content. However, I know what I want to do. So I want to create a poster that reads standout security, noting that this fictitious company, Modlock, is on a mission to deliver reliable home security solutions. I've asked it to also include a picture of a luxurious modern house where I could potentially feature some of these home security solutions that my fictitious company creates. And immediately it gets to work. It starts thinking about the various options and presents me with a few. All that was done in a matter of seconds, where historically I wouldn't say I'm the designer, first and foremost, but typically, I might have had to consider hiring a designer, hiring a freelancer to help me build out content or creative graphics. And now I feel like I have a bit of that power in my hands. So clicking on Edit allows me to bring up this integration with Designer. And this is where you can start going further with the initial draft that Copilot was able to create for you. Firstly, if you attended the keynote this morning, Nicole talked about brand kits. And I wanted to go a little bit deeper into what those are. So here I have a brand kit and I'm going to click update. And I'll show what the brand kit is in a second. But when you apply your own brand kit, you're able to give it a specific predefined set of colors. So you can define your color palette. You can define your fonts for your headers, subheaders. You can also set an image library and an icon library to have Copilot be able to create content consistently across whatever posters, graphics you want to create. And you can see here, it did that. And if I opened up the brand kit for a second, here you can see I have my logo, I have my color palettes, and my heading fonts already set. And I'm going to just add the logo, and I can very quickly remove the background of it so that I can put it in seamlessly. And you can also adjust the text and spacing however you want. This is a great way for you to be able to create that consistent messaging or consistent content across your color palettes, design language, style choices, so that anyone who has to create some kind of content at your company, whether or not they were hired to do social media or they were hired to create PowerPoint decks, can draw from the same brand kit and draw from the same way that Copilot creates visuals. So you have a very cohesive message across all your pitch decks or content, sales materials, etc. Awesome. Let's try and get up to more work. All right. I don't know how often this happens to all of you, but this happens to me a lot, and I like to share it with people that I get to talk to. Couple of coworkers have a very long discussion back and forth, talking about whatever they're talking about. And then they add you and they say, hey, Gabe, any ideas? And you're supposed to go in and spend time reading this entire email, trying to catch up on what it is they want before you can even respond. This happens far more often than I like to admit. But with Copilot, this was one of the simplest ways that it's helped save me so much time. By clicking Summary by Copilot, it's able to very quickly reason over all the content in that email thread and give me an outline, a summary of exactly what was discussed and what is needed from me. So from that whole text, I see that two of my coworkers were discussing product updates and marketing plans. Sounds like Quinn is having some issues with some suppliers, and they are ultimately asking me for help with their supply chain. Pretty simple stuff. This is exactly where Copilot shines a lot in terms of summarizing things, simplifying time, making it easier for you to go through things. The last thing I do want to touch on is meeting recaps. And I think we all have been in back-to-back meetings. It's very hard to keep track of where you're going, what action items you need to do when you're going from one meeting to another, or even finding time in your day to get work done. When you're able to record a meeting without taking notes, to Brenna's point about an entire generation of workforces coming up and never having to take notes, we are pretty close to that with meetings. So when you have a meeting recording, you're able to ask Copilot to recap the meeting for you, as well as list out action items so that you can catch up on your day without necessarily having to spend the time taking the notes during the meeting so you can fully engage, as well as catch up on all the things you have to do when you set aside time in your day to do that. Again, maximizing the amount of time you have. Awesome. And with that, now that we've talked about personal productivity, I think Brenna's going to talk about how we can go into organizational productivity.
Thank you. Thanks, Gabe.
Yep.
I don't know if any of you experienced the meeting recap. So now, there's a whole meeting you go to just to make sure someone doesn't say your name and say, what's that person going to do here? Or wait for that specific call out for you or your organization. So now what you can do is I follow a lot of meetings, and if they mention my name, it pings you and Copilot says, you were mentioned at this point in the meeting. And I can go click in and go, oh, that's what they needed from me, and save me 45 minutes. I'm not happy to go to the meeting. But now let's pivot. Remember, personal productivity, business process. Let's talk about agents. So what can agents do? It's almost easier to say sort of what can't agents do because we're building them as we speak. But there's this huge spectrum of agents, and different organizations use them very differently. To simplify it, on the far left, we have what we call retrieval agents, question and answer agents. This is what most people, I think, comes to mind when they think agents. Your classic chatbot, right? Ask a question, pulls it from a set of data, answers the question, retrieval, right? It's saving you time, certainly, because it's answering questions. This kind of stuff works great for like HR, Think about any part of your company where people ask the same questions over and over and over again. This is great. Send them to this, right? Like in our own organization, HR has saved an incredible amount of time from getting emails about like, when does open enrollment start? Like ask the bot, right? So that's super great and valuable, but they can do even more than that. So we also talk about agents that can complete tasks. These are more complex tasks, things like closing the books. So it can do one activity and then the next activity and then the next, all the way to completion. And then sort of come back to you with a completed task. We always encourage our customers and our partners, look at their business and say, what are those things you do every month, maybe every week, that take a lot of time? Build an agent to complete those tasks for you, right? Those things that kind of you do all the time, just totally test there. We see huge cost savings probably there right out of the gate. And then moving a little bit further to the more complex are autonomous agents. So this is very, very cool and really exciting stuff. Although I'll definitely admit we're earlier here, right? We're still building these things right now. Us and lots of other companies and partners are working on them. So they operate independently. They go out and they run tasks as if they were individuals. They know to come back and ask for questions. They can also manage other agents, which is incredibly interesting. Picture from your simple chatbot to literally someone that's almost running the department of customer success people. Like that's sort of what this completely autonomous agent could do for you. And we hear from our customers too that agents are an incredible way to scale. So a quarter today, which is awesome, I'm excited to see this number, are using agents. I bet most are on the easy side, the chatbot, right? But still, that's really exciting. And then 80% say that within the next 12 to 18 months, they're going to use agents to expand their work-fast capacity. So moving past that very simple chatbot into actual replacements for workers. And when we talk about replacing workers, this is always a really interesting conversation. We don't see them as substitutional because they don't. They're more additional to existing workforce. So we asked 31,000 people, why would you turn to an agent over a person? You say 42%, 24/7 availability. Machine speed and quality, right? No one can search the internet, find things faster than an agent. And then endless stream of ideas on demand. But we don't believe that any workforce, human workforce, can or should do these things, right? These are very supplemental, and particularly in small and medium businesses, and I've spoken to a lot, I have not run into a single company that said, I'm gonna reduce my workforce and replace it with AI. In fact, they've said, my workforce can do more, it can do less of the work they hate, and I can grow my top line, I can make more money without hiring more sellers, without hiring more CS people, without hiring agencies and all these consultancies I used to have to do. So it's very additional, and it sort of supports the existing human workforce because none of those things we want humans to do. An example of one of our customers who's having success with agents. This is a really interesting one. This is a company that deals with lots and lots of big data sets. We see this with law firms or things like that, where you're dealing with tons and tons of content. So now it would take someone, a client they'd analyze 30 to 40 hours to get insights. Now using Copilot, it takes it down dramatically. And this is an example of a repeatable process. Like their example would be sort of that middle agent that does a task over and over again, goes back through all the data of the client, pulls it together and summarizes it. Something that you'd have to do, humans do. Again, lawyers love this. Anything that's billable hour, if any of your companies do billable hour work, you can get so much more done because instead of having to go through review files, create summary docs, all that kind of classic work, completely replaced by agents. And we're just starting with pre-built agents, which is really exciting. They're out of the box. You can just add them in. We've built a new agent store, which will be growing every single day to add new agents that you can use and connect into your workflow. I'll talk about two pretty exciting ones. You've already heard, I'm sure, but we'll talk a little bit more. Researcher agent. So this is an example, I'd say, of sort of the middle agent. It's completing a task for you, but it's not just retrieval. So this is really exciting for SMBs, I think, because this is the type of work you'd often pay a consultancy for, really, to go out and research industry trends, but more than that, research industry trends of my top 5 competitors and their business performance and how it's doing, and bring me examples of their work, right? That is things that you'd have to pay someone for in the past, which I think is really exciting for SMB. So this researcher agent, I actually use this one all the time. It's personally one of my favorites. Although I'll tell you, even for me, it's a tough habit. Like, you kind of want to open that tab and start searching for top social trends, and you're like, no, wait, actually there's a tool that can gather that all and pull it for you, which is really exciting. Similar vein, we're having the analyst agent. And this is really almost eerie. So one of the startups I used to run marketing for was a data analyst company. So I used to work with a lot of analysts. And this agent feels like an analyst to me. Like, it asks questions like analysts would ask. So you can apply it to a complex data set. You can say, hey, can you look at this and find how my sales performance is doing by sales rep? It'll come back, it'll ask you questions, clarifying questions. Do you want it by rep, by region, by date? And it'll help you give it better prompts to get that sort of insights and data, which is super exciting. It helps kind of dive deep into your data, which is a pretty specialized role and frankly, fairly expensive if you think about the type of workforce you'd have to employ. And we're thinking every day about what other types of pre-built agents, like researcher and analyst, that we think are absolutely right for small and medium businesses. So facilitator, it helps manage meetings, it helps run them, takes notes automatically for you, tells you you've got 10 minutes left, things that you'll never have to have a human do ever again. Manage projects, sales chat, sales agent, these are ones personally I'm really excited about. When I talk to small and medium businesses, it's very much customer service, marketing, sales, right? Like those frontline workers that can do the original query and original response, quote creation, and then pass it off to a human to ultimately close the deal. And if you were feeling a little bit more adventurous or tech savvy, you can build your own agents. So we've got some really cool examples of our customers doing that. I mean, out of the box is probably easier, right? You've got things that are pre-built, you add in your connectors, you're pretty much ready to go. But for specialized work, we do see a lot of energy happening in Copilot Studio. So we have a customer who's built some custom agents responding to inbound customer service requests. It's one of my favorite examples, because it can actually go, if you query via email about a certain product that you say isn't working, it can query back to all the files on the product. It can find, if it often has these errors, it can give the recommendations that it normally does. And then if it knows it's frankly a faulty product and it's likely to be errored, it'll sort of push you to the front of the line for a refund. So these are things that you can build if you're thinking back to what are the things that take the most of your time. This is where building a custom agent is 100% worth the energy. But to show us a little bit more, I'm gonna have Gabe walk us through some agents in real time.
Awesome, thank you. I feel a little bit like a demo agent here. Awesome. So cool. I wanted to make sure I took a little bit of time to showcase the researcher and analyst agents because they are so powerful and they mean so much, I think, to just about any business, especially when you think about how much you might be spending in hiring someone or hiring a consulting agency in order to do some kind of market analysis. And then after the fact, having to trust the findings. I think having something like researcher and analyst being able to do that deep reasoning for you marks a distinct shift in how we think about work, and one of the quickest ways we see how firms can start becoming that idea of a frontier firm. These agents also run on deep reasoning models, and the primary trade-off with that is that you're going to get a much more accurate and lengthy response, with the trade-off being speed. And because I have a limited amount of time here, I pre-ran these queries and I just want to walk through them. But researcher took about 2 minutes and 38 seconds, which is a lot of dead air if I'm sitting here on stage. And analyst took a little bit longer, and we can walk through that. So with researcher, I asked a basic question, like analyze the market position of a company in the home security industry, looking for a brief summary to understand their market share in the home security industry, and want to know more about what markets they perform better in and who their primary customer demographic is. You can think about this as you doing research on your industry or your competitors, whoever they might be. Researcher is going to go and ask me a few defining questions, like, is there a specific geography I'm looking for? How detailed of a competitor analysis do I need? And are there specific elements or specific trends that it wants me to focus on? I just told it to go and do something, which is a lot harder to do if you're trying to tell an actual researcher that. But this is where it's interesting with researcher. It's going to explain its work and thought process as it's thinking. So as it's going through and evaluating your prompt and going out to the web to find information, it's going to tell you what it's doing and its methodology and process as it's going through that process. So you can see it's identified its growth. It's going through and trawling the web to look at what their customer counts look like. It's looking at competitor numbers for SimpliSafe, looking at their market share reports, going through various websites and other industry reports to pull together a succinct report overall for me. And you can see once it's done thinking, it's pulled together a very comprehensive market research report with the overall overview of the market home security industry, geographies that the company plays well in, like I asked for, who their primary customer demographic is, again, like I asked for, key competitors and other competitors in that industry, notable competitors and recent trends of how they're going about things, DIY security in this case being a rise in trend and a reason for their growth, historical performances, and it goes on. It's a super long and super condensed report. It's going. You see a nice SWOT analysis in there. Again, these are things that otherwise would have taken months, weeks, months, or cost a significant amount of money to be able to do. And I got this together in under 3 minutes from Copilot. It's going to cite its sources for you, so you can, of course, go back and double check what it's doing. And you can also click Edit in Pages so that you can take the entire response from Copilot, put it in a page, and collaborate with your coworkers by sharing it with them so that you can fact check it, pull things across from it, collaborate on it as you need to directly from within this space. Now, I'm going to quickly talk about Analyst as well. And I'm going to show you a spreadsheet that I have of EV charging data. It's got category, revenue, unit, spend, region, pretty raw data. And I have a collection of product reviews as well. I asked Analyst to generate some quick insights about the data from the uploaded file, and I attached that file using Markdown to format the insights in a visually appealing manner and highlighting these trends for me so that I can understand the data a little bit better. Similarly, Analyst takes an approach of thinking through its process. It's able to reason over this rather unstructured data in my Excel file. And it's also going to show me its work in Python as it's going through this process so that I can understand what it's doing, how it's manipulating the data and reorganizing it so that I can, again, fact check that work, understand what other processes, what advanced data analysis methodologies it applied to the data to ultimately produce a report. And you can see it goes through that process, summarizing things, understanding its data before ultimately giving me a result here, where it has summarized revenue by different types of chargers. It's given me regional trends of that data, It's correlated the spend and units to give me observations, like the fact that fast chargers tend to have both high units and spend. These are insights that might have typically taken me a while. And of course, this spreadsheet is, I think, structured very kindly already to lend me it ability to do this. But it was able to pull these insights from it without me actually having to do any of the work myself. And if I wanted to ask it to do specific things like chart a scatter plot for me of the regions of the EV chargers against the spend, it'd be able to do that to give me the clusters of where I'd see high value chargers versus low value chargers. It's able to do that for you, and all you have to do is ask it in natural language. And this is capabilities that we've not seen or had before when we're thinking about how AI has exploded into commercial use. Awesome. So those were two of the big things that I wanted to show. I'm going to take 2 minutes because that's all I need to show you how quickly you could create an agent for yourself when you're thinking about productivity. Here, I'm going to click, here in Copilot Chat, I'm going to click Create Agent. And you can describe your agent in natural language. You can start with one of our out-of-box agents as templates, but I'm going to create one here very quickly and say, I need an agent that can go over a terms of service document to help answer questions from customer service reps. And if you think about having to train your customer service reps to answer questions in a customer-friendly manner, this typically takes a bit of time. However, now I'm going to say, how about this name? Yes, that sounds great. And then it's going to ask me to provide some instructions for this agent. And here, I'm going to say, need an agent to go through the knowledge base with accuracy, find answers, respond in a friendly and polite manner so that I can copy and paste the response for a customer. So when we think about a customer service agent, not having to go through your own knowledge bases directly and then understand that, paraphrase that into the context of the question, and then answer them, the agent should be able to do that for me. And you can see, once I've done this, it started populating on the right a few things, and it's given me a description and instruction. And when I get to knowledge, I'm able to add specific knowledge sites from here. Like my terms of service document. And so if I added my terms of service document to this file, it's going to reason over that. And I can do things like, what are our return policy? And it's going to be able to answer this question without me as a service rep looking through the answer, but it's going to provide it in a way that's easy to understand and customer ready for me to copy and paste to send to my customers. And that's really it. That's how I've created my first agent. You can create it, save it, share it, and yeah, I guess that's kind of it.
Thanks. Awesome. So that was a real life example of building something in Copilot Studio. So you can see simple agent, simple query, right? Took just a few minutes, but you can make them very complex. You can have them do actions with other agents. You can have them assign any sort of work. So my homework to you would be to come and think about in your company or with your customers, what are those pieces of work that take a lot of time that are highly repeatable? Customer service, sales, HR, marketing, finance. We hear a lot about finance. Closing the books, anyone who has to do newsletters, emails, things like that, just really primed for a very simple agent setup to save you tons of time. So hopefully this is an exciting thing. We've got productivity and agents, but really how do we get started? And I'll admit it can be somewhat overwhelming. We know that 80% of knowledge workers are using AI. And this is one of the conversations when I talk to customers or partners that they're almost the most afraid of, because they know it's not secure AI. They know it's AI on the open web. They know it's AI that's built on their data. It kind of goes back to previous times in software, right, where you were concerned around what were your employees using, and now we've mostly centralized. AI is still that wild frontier. So what we really encourage is you want your employees using AI, but you want it safe and secure, and you don't want your private data being modeled out on the internet, which can happen. So this is sort of a transition to say, hey, how do you use Microsoft AI to replace other sort of free internet solutions that your team might be using? On the far left is access. So again, if every single person in here that has an M365 subscription, and I think that's almost everyone, you have access to Copilot Chat. That was the very first thing that Gabe demoed. I will tell you, we have lower usage in the SMB space. As the owner of that business, it pains me, and I have to report on it. So go use it, okay? It's free, it's accessible, it protects your data. This is a tool that every time I show it, they go, oh my God, I cannot believe that my team is not using that. It's free and accessible right now. So ROI, pick those key use cases. At the beginning, I said we see 350% ROI for those investing in AI. Still the case. Find those right examples in your company, build those case studies, get that ROI. And what we tend to see when you start small, you'll just invest in more teams and more processes and more structures because you get that ROI really quickly. And the team that's running it tends to love it. So they're also having a really good time because they don't have to do all that grunt work. And then governance. So we hear a lot about how do we make sure that people have access to the right tools, that not everyone's building agents that they shouldn't be building, that not everyone's using the ability to access data they shouldn't have. And so we've got some tools for that because we heard this a lot from our counterparts in IT. It's so exciting, but kind of when you open Pandora's box, how do we make sure it's safe and protected? So we've got a couple of things here that we do. One is called Copilot Control System. So it controls who can build things, who can build agents, what data they can access, and we've built this custom for IT. So this is an incredibly valuable tool. It's got IT management down to individuals. It'll help you make sure, kind of feel safe in deploying broad AI and not feel like you've opened Pandora's box and you don't know what's going to come out of it. On the right, we have Copilot Analytics, and we didn't have time today, or I'd show you, but it's a pretty cool demo experience. So it's a dashboard, and it can actually show you who in your company is using Copilot or AI and how their performance is. Internally, we did a test with some of our sellers, and we were able to show that those that use Copilot and their daily workforce closed more deals, made more money, and had more pipeline. And what that was so valuable, it was an opportunity then to go back to train those reps that weren't using it, to help them use more, and it's a really great way to measure ROI. They've got out-of-the-box reports, custom reports. They can help you say, hey, I'm making this investment. And on the back end, these analytics show really nice readouts to go, listen, you're getting that money back in real time. And if you're interested, we encourage you to go to this website. We've got lots of resources, prompts, chat tools, all the things that you would need to get started. And then I will tell you, I always show this slide because we have a lot of SKUs and things here at Microsoft. So it's a busy slide, but it talks through our product lineup. And I think that's so, so important for you to understand. This is how every employee in your organization can get access to Copilot Chat. And then you can accelerate your AI transformation with employees dropping the AI habit with Copilot or with agents. So just here you can see on this closer column to me, that's all the value that's included in your M365 subscription right now with free chat. On top of that, if you want to use agents, there's a consumptive model. And then on the far end, you see the Copilot. So that's sort of all of our product features. Please get started today. You can go to M365 Copilot for our website, or then download the app. We have a new Copilot mobile app that can do those queries we saw and the engagements right on your phone. I have it. I use it all the time. It's actually one of my favorite ways to use Copilot is on my phone. It takes a second to break the searching habit and go to the Copilot app, but once you do, it does save you a lot of time. And thank you for coming here today and hearing about SMBs and AI.